this is the only official website. And this is the only place where you need to go and do this calculation. This is free tool. This is going to be a long video. So I have organized all the reference links here in the description. Make sure you're checking that link. And in case you have any comment, the best way to do that is go to the comment section and write your comment. For example, can you guide me to the resource mentioned at, and what I'm showing you is the timestamp 5 minutes 06 seconds. And when you do that and you enter the comment, I know what exactly you're referring to now, like this. So if you're on a mobile, on your mobile screen, this is how the link will be in the description. Once you click here, almost every 2 weeks, the IRCC conducts a round of invitation under Express Entry system. And here, which is a point-based system, which is called comprehensive ranking system, you enter the pool and I'll show you how the scores get assigned. And it's quite transparent. The description here gives you the rounds of invitation detail, which we will see how this is done. Date, round type, whether it is general round of invitation, program specific, category based round of invitation, how many invitations were issued, and comprehensive ranking system score of the lowest ranked candidate invited. Now, if you come down here, right, from the time Express Entry has started, so far we have had 310 invitation draw, which has happened. And this is the latest one, August 15. So you see here, 308, 309 and 310. All three happened almost 1 day apart, August 13, 14, 15. And each round type had different program. Here it was French language proficiency. That means you enter the pool with your French language proficiency as the main thing. And here the invitation issued was 2000. The lowest score 394. Again, when it comes to Canadian experience class, that means you have worked in Canada for a specific period of time, and with that you entered the pool. If you had 509, that is the minimum or above, and you had entered at the right time, total number of invitation issued is 3200. Then comes the provincial nominee program, where province, they have specific skill required and you meet that skill requirement. So the province have invited how many candidates? 763, and the lowest score is 690. So when any province invites you, you get some additional point, which we will see in the point section. Then you see here healthcare occupation. So here on July 5th, that was 301, 3750 candidates were invited, and 445 was the lowest score. That is the minimum score what was required. Then you see these are all the general. That means anyone who was in the pool with the score of 529, they got this invitation. Accordingly, you can go and check the trend, how it has been so far. So this will give you an idea of how competitive this Express Entry system is. Now, if you don't know where the scores are coming from, this is where the entire detail is given, like for age, level of education, official language proficiency, Canada, work experience, with spouse, without spouse. So this is how the point get calculated. It's a detailed thing. I'll show you how you can use the calculator, find where you stand. But before that, let me go through one of the round of invitation. For example, this is the latest one, 310. Once you click here, see here, this is how the round of invitation detail comes. And here, as we saw, 2000 invitations, rank required to be invited to apply, 2000 or above, date and time of the round. So date and time both are mentioned here. Lowest score 394, and the tie breaking rule, that is, if you had entered the pool on or before this date and time and you had the score 390, then you make it. In case somebody had entered on July 8 and still had this score, they would not be getting the invitation to apply as per this tie breaking rule. If you had 395, then you could have made it even without this tie breaking rule. So when the cutoff is declared 394, for example here, and 394 has multiple candidates with different date, then candidate who had entered on or before this date, they get the invitation. So I hope this gives you some context. Every time the draw is held, it also shows you the distribution of candidate in Express Entry pool as on the date. For example, this shows for August 40, and you see here how many candidate has 601 to 1200, 125. Accordingly, 501 to 600, 11,055. And this is a very broad category. But if you come down here, 451 to 500, they have given the total here, and they have given the subdivisions here. 451 to 460, these many candidates. 461 to 470, these many candidates, and accordingly till 491 to 500, these many candidates. So when you total all of this, it comes to 61 to 10. So you know how the pool is, and how the competition is. And when you are entering the competition, how many people are there with you in the pool or how many are ahead of you. So this will give you some indication. Now, what you will not know here is that how many are from a particular type of category. You would know where you are eligible for if you have French language proficiency or you have Canadian experience class, you would know. But again, provincial nominee program, you will not know much. You would be in the pool, and if your skill is in demand, then you will get invited. But when it comes to general draw, as the name suggests, it is for everyone who has the score and who is in the pool within the specified time. Now let's come to the CRS score calculator. So once you type, you see here, this is the only official website. And this is the only place where you need to go and do this calculation. This is free tool. Once you click here, you see here, this is the Government of Canada website. So legal disclaimer here that this tool is intended solely for general guidance and reference purpose only. In event of any discrepancy between the result of this questionnaire and that provided by the Express Entry electronic system, this you will get once you create your Express Entry profile and submit your application. You will be given a score, and that score is being talked about here. The result provided by the system shall govern in accordance with provision of Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. So while you can use this tool is just a guiding document. When you submit your application and the score what you get, that shall be governed by this act. So this tool will still give you some idea of where you stand, and this is absolutely free. So once we scroll down, you see here, use this tool if you are eligible for at least one Express Entry program. I made another detailed video on how to check if you're eligible for Express Entry program or not. The link will be there in the description. And you have not filled out Express Entry profile, but you would like to see what your comprehensive score is. If you do, or you were invited to apply for permanent residency and wanted to see if a change to your profile may affect your CRS score. So change to profile happens when you are changing, for example, your age changes, your marital status changes, your education credential, there is some, upgrade which has happened while you're there in the pool. All those changes make changes to the score, what is given here. So you can also check based on what you're entering, how much score is being given in this tool. So this tool will capture the point what is given here in this sheet. Let me come back. What is your marital status? So I'm selecting married. Is your spouse or common law partner a citizen or permanent resident of Canada? You select the response between yes or no. Here I'm selecting no. Will your spouse or common law partner come with you to Canada? I'm selecting yes. And then how old are you? So you read this. If you have been invited to apply, enter your age on the date you were invited. So keep this in mind. Or if you plan to complete an Express Entry profile, enter your current age. So what you need to understand or remember is, if your date of birth is coming in near future, that is in few days or few months, you'll have to factor and then choose the age accordingly, because after you enter the pool, if the age changes, you lose point in some scenario, which you can go and check in the CRS score tool, which I showed just now. So here select the age, and once you select what is your level of education, again here enter the highest level of education for which you earned a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate. So if you have studied in Canada, then this will be applicable for you. If you have not studied in Canada, then you have to get a education credential assessment. Again, if you go to the Express Entry eligibility video, you will see how and where this can be got. So there, once you go through this, you will get your education equivalency in terms of Canada. Your degree might be equal to degree in Canada, or it might not be. So based on that education credential assessment, you will get from the agency what your education stand. So once you have that, you come here and then you select based on that. Otherwise, there is no use if you select and the education credential agency says it is not equivalent to what you think, then of course it is going to impact your score. For example, say you have done your degree and masters outside of Canada in your country, and in terms of the equivalency, the master is not considered equivalent to master in Canada, and you're assigned that it is equivalent to degree. In that case, instead of you selecting the master's degree as the highest, you will select 2 or more certificate, diploma or degrees. So again, once you select this, the scores changes. There is an impact what you get for master's, PhD or 2 or more certificate, bachelor's degree. So this is the highest, then second highest, third highest, fourth highest, and as it keeps going backwards. So that you can find here in the level of education. See, for doctor level university degree, if you are with spouse, you get this point. If you are without, you get this point. Accordingly, masters with spouse, without spouse, 2 or more certificate, with spouse, without spouse. So this is how this calculator starts capturing the detail. So in this case, I'm selecting PhD. And then once we come down here, have you earned a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate? To answer yes, English or French as second language must not have been made up more than half your study. You must not have studied under award that required you to return to home country after graduation to apply your skill and knowledge. You must have studied at school within Canada. Foreign campuses don't count. So you can read this. I'm selecting no here. Then comes the official language. Canada's official language are English or French. You need to submit language test results that are less than 2-year-old for all program under Express Entry, even if English or French is your first language. So if you're applying from outside, so here are your test results less than 2-year-old. I'm selecting yes. If it is not less than 2-year-old, then you'll have to appear for the exam and have the test result with. Which language test did you take for your first official language? So here I'm selecting English. So English, these are the language tests. CELPIP G, that is general. IELTS, again, it's general. PTE core. So you can select any one of the exam you have given. And here I'm selecting IELTS. If it is French, then you select this. So remember this drop here, French language proficiency. So someone who had selected the first language as French and was meeting this criteria, they were invited. Coming back here, I've selected IELTS and let me come down. Here you have to enter the score, what you have. So even if you don't have, when I was coming to Canada, I use this tool to know what should be my target score to get to the highest point. So I selected 7.5 to 9. So if you have 7.5 in speaking, minimum, listening 8.5, reading 8 and writing 7.5. So 7.5, 8.5, 8, 7.5, you get the highest IELTS score. So this is the official language score table and the Canadian language benchmark. See, they have given this level 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or more. Here, by getting this score, I know that I will get CLB 10 or more. So once this is done, again, depending on what your IELTS score is, this score will change. Remember that. But I use this to keep a target in mind on what score I need to get. Do you have other language result? So here I have selected IELTS, that is English. And if I have French, these are the two options. If you don't have, just select not applicable like I'm doing. If you have, then you get additional point, which is here. Since it is the second official language, the point system shows like this. So I've selected not applicable. So there's no point for this. Coming to the work experience in last 10 years, how many years of skill work experience in Canada do you have? So for example, I don't have any experience in Canada, none or less than a year, that gets selected. In last 10 years, how many total year of foreign skilled work experience do you have? It must be paid full-time or equal amount in part-time and in only one occupation. That is, any occupation which you choose, in that occupation, you will select how many years of minimum experience you have in the last 10 years. So in the Express Entry profile video, in the Express Entry eligibility video, I have covered this part on what is considered full-time, what is considered, part-time. And even if you work for 60 hours a week in a company, what is the threshold which IRCC has when it comes to full-time. So all those things I have covered in the other video. So here you will select the number of years. So you have none or less than a year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year or more. So here what it signifies is if you have anything more than 3 years, you will get the same point. Even if you have 15 years, 16 years of experience, you will get point what a 3-year experience person will get. So select this. And then do you have a certificate of qualification from Canadian province, territorial or federal body? So read through this. This is for the skill trade and province, territories and federal body related certificate. You can read this. Here my response is no. And then you also get some additional point. Do you have a valid job offer supported by labor market impact assessment if needed? This is not mandatory, but if you have, then the job offer must be full-time. A skill job in this category. Again, my other video covers this in detail on what this category is and what national occupation classification. You can go and check that video. So a job offer isn't valid if your employer is an embassy, high commission or consulate in Canada or list of ineligible employers. I have again made a video on especially on the labor market impact assessment, how some of the companies have been put penalty because of a certain lack of information, and you can go and check that video. Whether an offer is valid or not also depends on different factor depending on your case. So you can go and check this part. Here I'm selecting no, I don't have a job offer. Do you have a nomination certificate from province or territory? I'm selecting no here. Do you or your spouse or common law partner, if they come with you to Canada, have at least one brother or sister living in Canada who is a citizen or permanent resident? Again, you get point for this. If someone is here, I'm selecting no. What is the highest level of education for which your spouse or common law partner has earned a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate, or has education credential assessment that must be approved from agency in the last 5 years? So similarly, how you got your education credential assessment done, if spouse is coming, if they have, then you can go and choose this part. So for the spouse, you see here, they don't get the same point like what you get for the education credential. Depending on the spouse education level, you get these points. So select based on whatever the education credential is. Once that is made, come down. In the last 10 years, how many year of skilled work experience in Canada does your spouse or common law partner have? So I'm selecting none, nothing in Canada. Did your spouse or common law partner take language test? If so, which one? So I'm selecting IELTS, and then enter the test result, what was got. Okay, here for the spouse again, if you look at the language test score, you see here, it's not a big impact like what is there in the primary applicant, but still these points are valuable. It's 1, 3, 5. You see this. Once all this is done and you click here, calculate your score, you get instant result and you get to see what is your total score. Once you come down here from this 600 point, remember the provincial nominee is not here, and the total score right now is 600, and the score what is got is 498. What you're getting with the selections what is made. So you know where you stand. If you have your education credentials and language proficiency test result, then you know for sure what your score is going to be. Otherwise, this is again hypothetical scenario, but still you get some idea of what is the maximum point you can get to enter the pool. Then this tool is free. You must use it, and there is no need to pay anyone. This tool will give you some guiding factor on where you stand or what your target has to be or how you can improve your score looking at this overall score table. This is the CRS tool, which is free, and you can find this on the government website. The link will be there in the description. So once you come to this tool, as a Canadian experience class person, you'll be able to see what your score is going to be. And again, one thing you need to note is that this tool is intended solely for general guidance and reference purpose. So only when you enter your profile into Express Entry, I made a separate video on how you enter the detail. So you can check that video. Once you're there and you have submitted all the required information, only then the score what you get is valid. So you can read this part, but this tool, right, will help you if you're preparing for the language proficiency test or you have to get your credentials done. You still know where you will stand once you get this score is shown. So to start with, you select the marital status. For example, you are single, so you will choose from this never married or single. How old are you? You will select from this list what your age is, say 27 years. And then once you come down here, what is your level of education? Earned a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate, or has a education credential assessment. So again, education credential assessment, if you have studied outside of Canada, then Canada needs to know what is your education qualification equivalent to in terms of Canadian education. So once you get that credential, you will be able to fill this part, assuming that you have a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate and this education credential. So what do you have? In case you have a master's from Canada, you select this, okay? Or say you did your bachelor's elsewhere and you did your another degree here in Canada, and depending on that, you have this credential. So you select the option, for example, this option. So once you make the selection, you come down here. Have you earned a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate? Again, these are the criteria. You can go through this and then you can respond your answer as yes, or once this is done, then you choose the best answer to describe this level of education. So this is Canadian degree, diploma or certificate. So depending on what you got, you make that selection. 1 or 2 year diploma or certificate, degree, diploma or certificate of 3 year or longer, or master professional or doctorate degree of at least 1 year academic year. For example, you make this selection 1 or 2 year diploma or certificate, then you will be required to give the official language detail. In case the first language you are choosing here as English, so English or French are the only option. So depending on what you choose, your test result need to be less than 2 year old. So you have to make that selection, okay, which means you need to have the test result. Even if you don't have, you will get to know what your score will be if you target the highest score band. For example, I select yes here and select IELTS in this case or CELPIP in this case. Let's select CELPIP, and this CELPIP here it shows, say you get the highest band, that is 10 to 12. Say you get 10, listening you get 10, reading you get 10, and writing you get 10. You will get the highest language point. So this has to be your target if you want to get a better point. That way you can target and you see if you target this score, how much point you will get, or whatever the target is, you can select that part and you will see the result accordingly. Do you have other language result? If you have, well and good. So in this case, these are the two options. In case you have French, you can select that part and then you select the score what you have. For example, here we select the score what is there, or just say not applicable. Let's see what happens. Then comes the work experience part. In the last 10 years, how many years of skilled work experience in Canada do you have? So again, this is Canadian experience class which I'm showing. In that case, the National Occupation Classification, which is the official list, and it describes the education, experience and responsibility, that is TEER. So you will select based on that your option. For example, I'm selecting 3 years, and in last 10 years, how many total year of foreign skilled work experience do you have? Must be paid full-time or equal amount in part-time and in only one occasion. That is the NOC what is given. So from this, I'm selecting 3 or more years. And then coming down, do you have a certificate of qualification from Canadian province, territory or federal body? If you have, you make that selection. If not, just select no. And then do you have a valid job offer supported by labor market impact assessment? In this case, the details are given here. Read this. If you have, you select yes. If not, no. Do you have nomination certificate from province or territory? Selecting no again here. Do you or your spouse or common law partner, if they will come with you to Canada, have at least one brother or sister living in Canada who is a citizen or permanent resident? And then this criteria meets. I'm selecting no here. If you have, you select yes. And then once all these things are done, you click on calculate your score. So instantly you get this express entry score based on what you have given input as the total score. Now with this score, if you look at the previous draw, you will see what the trend is. For example, we are talking about the Canadian experience class. So the last draw which happened on August 14 had the lowest score as 509. Before that, the Canadian experience class had 510, and then before that 550. So you know what the trend has been over last few draw and what your score is. That way you know where you stand in competition, whether you will get the invitation to apply or you need to work on improving some areas where you can get some additional point. Again, I'll not go into much specific detail because that's going to confuse you. This tool is a free tool and you must use it to plan how you're going to improve your score if need be. And only when you enter your express entry profile, you give your education credential detail, you give all the detail what is required and you submit, and the point what you get, that is the actual point which is considered. But if you use this tool right and you see the score what you get, almost identical score you will get when you submit your profile, provided everything is right. Once you type express entry profile, this is the official website where you come and click here. And once you click here, how to check eligibility, I have made a separate video. You can find that in the link. And then once you have found your eligibility, you will sign into your secure account by clicking here. Once we come down, if you don't have, you'll have to register for an account. Again, I made a separate video on how to register, and everything I have covered in detail there. Once you have registered and you have your GC key and username password, you click here, you enter the GC key detail, that is you sign in, and once you sign in and then continue, you will get a passcode sent to your email ID. And once the one-time passcode entry is made and you continue, you get this message, authentication success. Once this is done, continue, then you come and check the terms of condition and you say I accept. You will get identity validation which you had set up through the GC key, you enter that detail and then continue. So this is the dashboard where you come down and you see here, because I had gone through the eligibility check process, this is how the result was shown. If you don't know what this is, I have made a separate video on how this was done. Once you do that, then you come to this. Here it shows the express entry profile. So at some point you feel that your express entry profile, you want to start all over again. You have option to edit or even to delete the profile. You can do that and then start all over again. So don't worry, in case you have to delete, you can again come and create using the same credential, same login, same email ID. So that is one update I wanted to give to you. Let me cancel this, come down, click on the continue profile. Here, tell us your name exactly as shown in your passport, travel document or national identification document. So as per your passport, make sure the last name is written, then the first name, your gender from this drop down, and then your date of birth. Once this is done, you click next, you select your marital status and then click next, select person accompanying you, yes or no. I have selected yes and then click next, and then you enter the detail. In case you have selected spouse, then you enter the spouse name as it is in spouse passport. So last name or family name, first name, and then the gender of the spouse or common law partner, then the date of birth. Once these details are entered, make no mistake here, click next. This is where you will start completing your online application by choosing the section below. So you see here your personal detail you will fill, your contact detail, study and language, then your application detail, representative. Since in this video I am not going with any representative, I'll show you how to do that part. If you are doing your application without any representative, then your work history, and then spouse, personal detail, study and languages, work history. Start filling this form. So once we click here, start form, this is the file details section. So the name comes automatically what was filled earlier. And then once we come down here, you see, click next. Personal detail. Again, this detail is already captured. Country of birth gets selected. Then you choose the city of birth. And once this is made, you click next. Marital status automatically shows up like this. Click next. Here you will enter passport or national ID detail. So you will select if you have one. You need to have one when you're filling this express entry profile. So my option is yes. And then document type I'm showing as passport, and then document number as it is exactly shown in the document, the country, territory of issue, and then issue date as it is mentioned in the passport, and the expiry date. Make sure not to make any mistake, and the passport what you're giving has a good validity. This entire process is going to take, say, at least 1 year after you get the invitation to apply. Make sure you have a passport whose expiry date is not coming in next 1 to 2 years. Once details are entered, save and add, and then you will see the ID detail like this. Then come down and click next. Then the question is, have you applied to Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada before? So you have to select your answer accordingly. In my case, I selected no. And then country of citizenship. If you have multiple countries, then you can insert the row from here. Once you make that entry, country of residence, the country where you are currently, that once you make that selection, you click next. This is the family section. So here in this family section, how many family members do you have? This includes you, a spouse or partner, dependent children, and their dependent children. So you will make the selection. Remember this part, what the family is. So many people make mistake here. What includes as family, that is clearly defined here. How much money in Canadian dollar you will be bringing. Remember we had seen this proof of fund table, and here the minimum required fund in Canadian dollar is given, and for a family of 2 members, I need to show minimum of this amount, and I'll be giving detail what I will be showing as proof. So once the amount is entered, and this is again in Canadian dollar, click next. In this part, do you have any relative who is a citizen or permanent resident of Canada? In my case, I did not have anyone. So the response was no. If you have, then you make the selection and then save and exit. So you see here, the personal details section is now complete, and you can again go and update if you want. Just by going and clicking here, you will be able to go and modify. So let's save and exit. We come to the contact details section, start form. Here you choose the language of correspondence. So there are only 2 options. Select English English here. Then next, you enter your email address. This will be used for all the correspondence and communication, and that's where everything will be working, and this is required. So you enter that detail, and once this entry is made, you save and exit. So as you keep updating, you will keep seeing the status like this: complete. Then we come down, study and languages, start form. Here you will enter the education history. Have you finished high school or any higher education, including university, college or vocational training? In my case, it is yes. Field of study, you select from this list. Make sure you go through this carefully and select the correct option. And once that is made, you select from what year and if this is your current study. So as you keep making the entry, you will select and complete this detail. So from to and how many academic year, whether it was full-time, part-time study, standing at end of the study period, and then country of study. Look at your certificate and make sure you're entering all details correctly. And once you have filled in this detail, city, town of study, name of the school, institution, level of education, and then where you awarded a Canadian degree diploma certificate for this period of study. If you have studied in Canada and all this detail, what you entered is for Canada, then your response will be yes. In my case, it is no. Then you will be asked if you got your education credential assessment done in last 5 years. If your response is yes, then who issued the assessment? So this is where if you have not studied in Canada, you have to get your education credential assessment and you will enter the detail here. So when I got my credential done, it was through World Education Service, and you see all this drop down. So make the selection, and when the ECA was issued, that year, month and date, and the certificate number has to be entered. You exactly transfer the detail what is shown in your education credential assessment, and that will have your ECA reported issue date and the certificate number. So once you correctly enter all of these and what is the equivalent education in that result, that you make selection from this drop down. Once this is done, you come down and you do save and add, and then the next is your official languages. Once you click this, can you communicate in English or French? You have to select English, French, both, neither. So in my case, it was only English. So make that selection. Have you taken an approved language test to assess the English skill? The response is yes, and I had taken IELTS. And then language test version, IELTS general training. Come down, and here the language test result date automatically comes entered. Then date of test result, that again you look at the document and enter the correct details. So once that detail is entered, language test result form or certificate number, make sure you're entering the details correctly. Once the detail is correctly entered, then you come down and save and exit. Next is the application detail, start form. Here, once we come down here, which province or territory would you consider living in? So when I was doing this form, as I said, I did not know which province or territory I wanted to go. Here I made selection all, and my thought process was that in case for some reason my express entry point is not very competitive, maybe under provincial nominee program, if I am meeting any of the criteria, the province might select me into their PNP program. So I made that selection. In case you know which province to go, you can make that selection. And you see here, when you make this all province and territory, British Columbia is asking you to authorize. So is Ontario. And once you make the selection, I'm selecting yes, and I'm saying next. Here, have you received a nomination certificate from province or territory? In my case, it was no. So once this was done, save and exit. So this part is also done. Then representative, start. I was not using any representative. Who is a representative? An applicant can appoint a person to do business with Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada on their behalf. Do you want to allow IRCC to give this information to the appointed person, such as an immigration consultant, lawyer, friend, family member, to contact IRCC on their behalf? So if you have anyone, you would select accordingly that you have a representative or a designated individual or both or no. In my case, it was no, and then save and exit. Come down, work history, start form. Here, coming to the occupation part, this is a 5-digit NOC. Again, I'm not going much in detail, so I knew my NOC. And you can search by coming here, and in my case I selected what was relevant for me, and once that selection was made, come down, and here you enter the year and month when you became first qualified to practice this occupation. So whichever occupation you have selected, and if this is the primary primary occupation. So once this is done, you click next. And here, if you have a qualification from Canadian province or territory, you make a selection as yes. In my case, it is no. Click next. Do you have a job offer in Canada? So the offer detail is given here. If it is yes in your case, you make that selection. In my case, it was no. Next. Then comes the work history section. And here, since I have a work history, I'm selecting yes. And then from what year, that detail gets done. And if this is your current job, you make a selection. So when the entry is made, if it is your current job, you make that selection. If not, from when to when, you keep entering your work experience one after the other. How many hours per week? So here for the 1 year work experience, when you say you have 1 year experience, how it is calculated, that part is given. That, for example, you are on a full-time one job. 30 hours per week for 12 months is equal to 1 year full-time job. So even if you're working 60 hours a week per week, only 30-hour week will be considered. So it is not like if you're working 60 hours, you can multiply that by 2. So whatever time you're spending, maximum what will be taken is this 30 hours per week for 12 months. That's when you will complete 1 year. That is 1560 hours. If it is part-time, then the calculation is given here. And if it is full-time work at more than one job, then again 30 hours per week for 12 months is what is considered. As I said, we don't count any hour of work above 30 hours per week. So I hope this gives you clarity. Here you will start entering your detail. So since I'm selecting this is my current job, that selection will go. And then number of hours per week, I'm entering 40 here. And then the NOC, job title, what your job title was, and employer and company name. Let's come down. If you were self-employed, you will check this, which country, city, town. So once all the entry is made and you save and add, you will see detail like this. So if you have to keep adding your job detail, you will keep coming here and filling the detail, and you will keep adding. So once you add, you will see all the job what you have shown. Once this is done, you click next. Following questions are about your education and work experience recognition in Canada. IRCC will use this information for research, performance measure and evaluation purpose, not to take decision about your profile. So your answer is important. So do you agree with the answer to these questions? Yes, I'm saying yes. And then have you looked for job in Canada in your primary occupation? What best describes the last action you took? So from this drop down, based on what your response is, you will select this. So when I was looking into, I selected yes, I have done some research to find job in Canada. So once this selection was made, have you checked to see if your education and work experience in your primary occupation would be accepted in Canada? So based on my research, I knew that yes. And then with whom did you check? Mark all that applies. So from this list, if you have selected yes, then you will have to check whatever your options are. So I selected, I did not have any friend. So I selected my option. And then some jobs are regulated in Canada and would need license and certification, practice these jobs. So I knew that mine is not the one which requires a regulation. So my response here was no. In case if it is yes, then you'll have to answer this part. So I'm clicking no. If you don't know, you make that selection as don't know and then save and exit. So at any point, if you want to exit, you can do that just by coming down, save and exit, and you can come back again and start from where you want. Let me show this to you. Save and exit. Are you sure you want to exit? Continue. And then I accept. You can exit now and log out by clicking continue. So this is how you safely log out. I have logged in again and you can see here all this section is now complete. Now we will move on to the spouse section where we enter the personal details, study and language, work history. Start form, come down, next, country of birth, enter the detail and then enter the city or town of birth, click next. If you're single, you will not come to the spouse section. In that case, you're almost done. And once we are done with the spouse section, we will see what all will continue. So here for the immigration history and citizenship, is this spouse a Canadian citizen or permanent resident? The response here in my case is no. If it is yes, you'll have to select that. And then next, any relative who is a citizen or permanent resident of Canada. For the spouse, you have to choose your response. The response here in my case was no. Save and exit. Then come to study and language, start form, come down. Has the spouse finished high school or any education, higher education? Response is yes in my case. Then select the field of study. Since what year? If this is the current study, complete / full academic year, how many year it is? So that detail will get entered. Whether it was full-time or part-time, that detail will get entered. So let me fill the other part also. So detail have been filled. come down, full-time, standing at end of study period, degree awarded. So you'll have to select the correct option here, country of study, city, town, name of the school institution, and then level of education, what that was. So that gets selected. And was the spouse awarded a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate? Response is no. Then again, the education credential assessment within the past 5 years for degree, diploma or certificate. So that was got done. Yes. And the organization is chosen from the list. Again, my wife also had gone through the World Education Service. Depending on what it is in your case, you will have to select that. And then the reported issue date and the number. Once the detail is entered, come down. We'll fill the level of education that was got in ECA and then save and add. Now you see that detail has come here. Click next. Then there's official language assessment. Again, depending on the language test, you will choose your response yes or no. So here my response is yes. And the language what was taken is IELTS. So if it is any other, you will choose from this list. Then date of language test, date of test result, look for the certificate and make sure you are not making any mistake, including the certificate number, and then the detail of speaking, reading, listening, writing. Once this is entered, if you have any other test given, in this case French, you will choose your response. If not, keep it at no and then save and exit. Then come down, work history, start here and fill the detail for the work history. If there is any work history, you will make an entry. If it is yes, you will say yes. If it is no, you will say no. So once that is done, save and exit. Now once you have done this, you see everything is complete now. You still have option to go and edit and update the form here. And if you are satisfied that you have done everything up to date, then continue.
This is the declaration section where you will also put your electronic signature. So once you come down here, you have this option I agree. You have to select this. This is the consent for information for research and evaluation purpose. You can agree or not agree depending on what you want. And then your signature here. Remember, given name first and the last name next. So don't make mistake here. People make mistake here. Come down. Then you will respond to your favorite question, security question, and then you will type. Once you type, you come to this page and here you will transmit. Once you transmit, congratulations, you have successfully submitted your application. And once you exit this questionnaire, you can go through these steps. You see that the Express Entry profile has been created, and you can come and withdraw this profile if you want anytime, or while it is there, you can go and check the application status. If there is any update, you would see that update here on this dash. Once you click on this check full application status, you will come to this page. You will be able to see everything, including what the overall score you got right now. Since in this part of the video, I have shown career experience class towards the end. The score looks higher in your case. The score might look lower depending on what your selections are. So whatever score you get, compare that into CRS Tool and you would know where you stand in the box.
In today's video, we will see how to create this Express Entry profile as a Canadian experience class skilled worker. So what is the requirement? This page will give you the requirement, and I'm sure you would know by now. You need to have a Canadian skilled work experience. That means you need to have worked in Canada in your skilled category, and then you have to also show your language ability. Then you must have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada or equal amount of part-time work experience in the 3 years before you apply. You have gained your work experience by working in Canada while authorized to work under temporary resident status, that is on a work permit, be it open or closed work permit. Show that you have performed the action in the lead statement of the occupation description in the National Occupation Classification. So you have to show that, and most of the main duties listed. Then for the skilled worker experience that you're showing, your training, education experience and responsibility categories falls under one of these categories, and that must be paid work including paid wages or earned commission. What is not counted is volunteer work or unpaid internship. So be clear on this. And who is not eligible for Canadian experience class? If you're a refugee claimant in Canada, you're working without authorization, your work experience was gained without temporary resident status in Canada. Then they have given, if you are a self-employed or student work experience, then in that case, what the eligibility is. So you can read through this. And a lot of people have confusion regarding how this full-time and part-time calculation is done. So this is the link. If you come here, you have worked total of 30 hours per week for 1 year in 3 years before you apply. It's very clear. If it is a full-time job, 30 hours per week for 12 months is equal to 1 year full time, that is 1560 hours. If you're in part time, 15 hours per week for 24 months is equal to 1 year full time, 1560 hours. You can work as many part-time job as you need to meet this requirement. Then full-time work at more than one job, 30 hours per week for 12 months at more than one job is equal to 1 year full time, that is 1560 hours. And what is important is we do not count any hour you work about 30 hours per week, which means even if you're working 60 hours per week, it will only be considered 30 hours. So I hope this part is clear. Once you type Express Entry profile, this is the official website where you come and click here. And once you click here, how to check eligibility, I have made a separate video. You can find that in the link. And then once you have found your eligibility, you will sign into your secure account by clicking here. Once we come down, if you don't have, you'll have to register for an account. Again, I made a separate video on how to register, and everything I have covered in detail there. Once you have registered and you have your GC key and username password, you click here, you enter the GC key detail, that is you sign in, and once you sign in and then continue, you will get a passcode sent to your email ID. And once the one-time passcode entry is made and you continue, you get this message, authentication success. Once this is done, continue, then you come and check the terms of condition and you say I accept. You will get identity validation which you had set up through the GC key. You enter that detail and then continue. So this is the dashboard where you come down and you see here, because I had gone through the eligibility check process, this is how the result was shown. If you don't know what this is, I have made a separate video on how this was done. Once you do that, then you come to this. Here it shows the Express Entry profile. So if you see this screen, you can click continue profile, and if you don't see this screen, you will come to this screen. So here you'll have to enter your last name and first name as it is shown in your passport, travel document or national identity document. So in all case, you would have your passport. Make sure you enter exactly as it is required. Last name first, then comes first name, your gender and your date of birth. Once this entry is made, you come down and then click next. Here you select the marital status, and in case you are married, how to add spouse detail, that also we will see. If you're single, the form becomes much smaller. You don't have to add any other detail. So I'm selecting here married and then clicking next. Will this person accompany you to Canada? My response here is yes. In case if it is no, you will select that. If you're single, you will not be getting this. So once this is selected, click next. What is your spouse, common law partner's last name, first name, gender and date of birth? That will get entered. Again, if you're single, you will not see the screen. So let me make this entry. Once the entry is made, click next, and then you come to this profile section. You see here, if you're single, you will be getting only this part, and if you are with spouse, then this additional form will have to be filled. So let's start filling in the detail. Once we click here on the start form, come down. So this is pre-filled. You just click next. Here, make sure that the detail what you're filling matches exactly as in your passport or travel document. So here, this is by default what was entered earlier comes up here. Then country of birth as per passport and city and town of birth as it is given in the passport. Once this is done, click next. Marital status, it shows up as married. If you're single, it will show up as single or whatever status you had choose. Click next. Here you'll have to give passport or national identity document. So you'll have to select from this drop down if you have any one of this, and I'm sure you will have this. So I'm selecting response here as yes, and then you will select what that is, whether it is passport, travel document, national identity document. In all cases, it's going to be passport. So select that part and then document number as exactly shown in the document. So make that entry. And then country and territory of issue. Once that is entered, come down, issue date, expiry date, this has to be filled. When you submit your application, you have to get invitation to apply. And once you get that, you submit your document. It's going to be around 1 year, and in sometimes it can be more also. So make sure you have a passport with a good validity. Otherwise, you will have to again go and update when the process is going through. So to avoid any confusion, any delay, better to have a good validity passport. You check that beforehand. This is going to save a lot of headache for you later on. So once the issue date, expiry date is entered and you save and add. Once you click save and add, you see here that detail comes here, and then you can modify if you want. You can delete and then add again. So once this is done, click next. So here you have to answer if you have applied for Immigration and Refugee and Citizenship Canada before. For the Canadian Experience class, the response would be yes, as either you would have entered Canada as a student and then you worked for some years before you are applying for the Canadian Experience class, or you came on a work permit, on a company assignment, or on a open work permit, and then after spending time in your work, whatever the minimum requirement is, then you are applying for Canadian Experience class. So in that case, the response is yes. And then if you have applied for express entry before, you will choose your answer. In my case, I am saying no. And then the UCI number, it will be either a 8-digit or 10-digit number. If you are on a student visa, if you came on a student visa, check your document. It will have that UCI number. And if you came on work permit, again, you will find UCI number. So make sure to make that entry here. Then country of citizenship, you can enter more than one country if you have dual citizenship. India does not have dual citizenship. So here I have entered India. Here you can add or insert the row if you have more than one country citizenship. Once this is done, come down, you will choose the country of residence. Here I am choosing Canada, and what province or territory of your primary place of residence is. I'm in Ontario, so I select that, and then the postal code. Remember, when you're entering, you have to give a space, otherwise this will not accept. So once you write this, click next. Here, family detail, this includes you, spouse, partner, dependent children, and their dependent children. So the definition of family is also given here. Just make sure you read this. I'm selecting 2 people, including me, and depending on this, the proof of fund part, that is how much Canadian dollar will I be bringing. So this is the proof of fund table, and good part is you don't need to show that you have enough money to support yourself and your family if you are applying under Canadian Experience class, or you're authorized to work in Canada, or you have a valid job offer even if you apply under Federal Skilled Worker Program or Field Skilled Trade Program. So you can read this more in detail, and once you read this, you can enter the amount what you have. In your case, proof of fund is not going to impact you. So whatever money you have, you can make that entry. Once you make that entry, you click next. With relation to the relatives in Canada, if you have any relative who is a citizen or permanent resident of Canada, your response will be yes. In my case, I'm selecting no, and then save and exit. So as you keep completing, you will see the status as complete, and you can come and update the form again if you want, till the time you are submitting this form completely. Coming to the contact detail, let's start the form. Here, language of correspondence, I'm choosing English. You have to select your option and then come down, click next. Here you will enter your email address. This is where all the correspondence will come. So enter the email address, and once that is entered, save and exit. Come to study and language. Start here. Have you finished high school or any higher education, including university, college, or vocational training? You have to select your answer. Here my response is yes, and then field of study. This is where you will start filling in the detail. I will start the highest and then keep going down. Computer and information technology. Since what year, that detail will get entered, year and month. Here I have pre-filled for the situation where the study has been done in Canada. So you can see here, since what year, that detail is entered. Then this is my current study. If that is the case, then you say yes. In my case, I am selecting no. Then to when this finished, that is entered, and complete full academic year, 2 years, because this was a master's. So I have entered here. If you have any question, you can go and click here, and you will get to see the final transcript what you have to know what to enter here. Then was it full-time or part-time study? I have entered full-time. Then standing and end of study period, degree awarded and has been selected. So you will select from this option. Then country of study, since this was done in Canada, this entry shows Canada. Province or territory, Ontario. So from the drop down, it gets selected. City and town of study, that gets entered. Then the postal code and name of the university. Then what is the level of education? This comes from the drop down. So I have selected master's degree, and was this awarded Canadian degree diploma certificate? So I select yes, and based on that, there are further details which have been asked. Was this degree, diploma or certificate? Yes. So these are all required mandatory field you see here. And then designated learning institute number. If you don't know where to find, once you click here, you come to this website, designated learning institute. and this is a place where you can go and enter the university name and you will get all the detail here. For example, University of Toronto, Toronto campus. This is the designated learning institute and it says yes for the postgraduate work permit program. So this is the place where you can find the detail. And again, I copied detail from here, the DLI number, and that is what has been entered here. And the program was in English or French. For this, you select yes or no, depending on your situation. I have selected yes. And then you come down. Was this study based on any award that required to go back to home country to apply the knowledge and skill? This includes some award from Global Affairs Canada. My response here is no. If it is yes, you will enter that. And then did I complete 50% of the study or training program courses through in-person learning? Here I have chosen no. And a lot of people make mistake by selecting yes. So depending on your scenario, you will have to choose yes or no. Let me explain that in simple English. If you attended language school where more than 50% of the courses were focused on teaching you English or French, your answer would be yes. If your education program was not primarily focused on teaching English or French as second language, then your response would be no. So a lot of people by selecting yes have lost point. So depending on your circumstances, you will have to choose the right option between yes or no. And did I study in Canada for at least 8 months in order to earn this degree or diploma or certificate? The response is yes. And then did I study full time for at least 8 months to earn this degree, diploma or certificate? The response is yes. So once all this response is done, you can go and click and save and add. Once you add, you see this is how the detail is seen. You can modify, delete and enter again if you want. If not, just keep as it is. And then you go and click next. So what we saw was for someone who had studied in Canada. Now, for example, you came on a work permit and you did not study here. Let me fill that part. Come to education history. Now I'll just go and delete this row and then we'll start filling in the detail. Let me show you one by one. You see, this is for someone who had studied outside and here I'm selecting higher education completed. Yes. Field of study, selecting from this drop down. So make sure you're choosing the closest one to which your study is. Here I've selected computing and information technology. Since what year? Start year and month. And then here I'm showing this is my current study. No. Then when it finished, that detail, complete full academic year. It's a master's of 2 years. That is what has been entered. Again, if you're confused, you can click here and you can look at your transcript or your certificate to know how many years. Whether it was full-time or part-time, that has to be entered. And then standing at end of study period. So any certificate, diploma or degree awarded, that is entered. And then country of study, city, university, and then once you come down, level of education, what that was, that is entered and was awarded Canadian degree, diploma, certificate for this period of study. The response here in my case is no, because this was done outside. And based on this, I am getting asked, has education credential assessment been done within past 5 years for this degree, diploma or certificate required? So if you have a credential outside, then you have to get the education credential assessment done. This is the designated organization from where you can get your education credential assessment done. And you must come to this website to see whichever organizations are currently designated. So sometimes this changes. I got my credential done through World Education Service when I was immigrating to Canada. Coming back here, the education credential assessment has to be there. So my response is yes. And then organization which issued from this drop down, I'm showing World Education Service. You will have to select from wherever you're getting it done. Then when that was issued, that date has to be mentioned and the certificate number, which will be mentioned on the certificate itself. Once you enter that, you enter what the equivalency was given in your case. Here from this list, I chose the equivalency, what was given by the World Education Service. You'll have to select yours and then save and add. Once it is done, you can see this. And again, if you want to modify or delete, you can do that and add again. Till the education credential was done and equivalency is given, I have entered this and I did not enter any more detail like the bachelor's and other information, because of course the logic is that if you have done your master's, you would have done your bachelor's. If you want, you can go and add those details to here. You can just go add all the detail and save here. That will come and sit here. So it will come as a next row. So once that is done, I've shown you for someone who studied in Canada and for someone who has studied outside of Canada, both scenarios. And then we click next. Then in this official language section, again, when it comes to communication, English or French has to be selected. So I chose English, and if you know both, you will make that selection here. Neither is not a response here. And then official language assessment, I got it done. So I'm selecting yes. And from this drop down, I selected IELTS, and the version is general training. Then once we come down here, language test date, when the test result was, this again exactly as it is given in the certificate, and then the certificate number and the detail of the score what was given. Once that is entered, and I'm saying I don't have any other language test assessment that is French skill. If you have, then you'll have to select yes and fill in those detail. Once this is done, save and exit, and we'll come down, go to application detail start form. So here I chose all province and territory because I had done very little research at that point of time. If you had any preference to province or territory, you can consider clicking only those. Here by authorizing the British Columbia and Ontario. So these are the two for which this authorization has to be given. So you will choose your response. What happens is in express entry, in case under provincial nominee program, if any of these province have opportunity for your NOC, then they might extend the invitation to you. So here I have selected all province. You will have to choose your option. And once that is done, you come and click next. Has this name received a nomination certificate from province or territory? If it is yes, you'll have to click yes and then select the province, and then you will have to save and exit. If not, select no and then save and exit. Once we come down, so in this representative section, you'll have to choose your selection. I had none, so I selected no. So you can choose representative, designated individual, or both. Whatever the option is, you make that selection and then save and exit. We are on the work history part. Start primary occupation, that is 5-digit NOC that you'll have to select from here, and you must know your NOC. If you don't know, I have shared my experience of how I found the NOC, and sometimes can be confusing that two different NOC looks similar. How I was able to navigate, I have shared that as an example in the video. All the links are in the description. In my case, I selected the NOC which was applicable, and then I showed from when to when I worked in that occupation. So made the selection since when I was eligible, and after making that selection, click next. Do you have certificate of qualification from Canadian province or territory? In my case, it was no. You'll have to select your response and then click next. Do you have job offer in Canada? And that must meet these requirements. Again, in my case, the response is no. You'll have to make a selection. If it is yes, then you will have to enter whether it is full-time, continuous, or at least 1 year. You have to select the response, enter the NOC code, job title, and the detail what is mentioned here, including the detail of employer and other details. So in my case, since it was no, click next. So this work history part, this is used for the calculation of score. Do I have any work history? From this, I selected yes. Since what here, that detail is entered, and I have selected this is my current job. If you deselect, then you will have to give to and fro, and then you will keep adding the work experience what you are showing. So I'll just do this part here. Hours per week, look at your employment letter, and there the hour would be mentioned. And as I said, whatever the number of hour per week is, maximum counted will be 30 hours. Then you enter the NOC code and then the title what is there on your job offer letter. Then once we come down here, company name, if you are self-employed, you'll have to click this part, and if not, just leave it as it is. Country, and you will select the country, province, city, then the address and postal code. Once we come down, do any of the following condition apply? Working legally in Canada during this time, a person must have been working on a valid work permit or exempt from needing one. Had legal status the whole time that they were in Canada, not stayed longer than the approved time period. So here the response is yes in my case. And then studying full time, this is not applicable, so I have selected no. If it is yes, you'll have to select that. Which of this category does the job fall under? Work permit required, no LMAI required. So there are 3 sections here, and I have chosen this part. Basically in this, usually when you come on international mobility program, that is the company is sending you for work, or intra-company transfer program where the multinational companies transfer to Canadian branch or subsidiary without needing LMIA. In that case, this option gets selected, and if work permit and LMIA is required, then you will have to select the other option. Make sure you're aware of what your circumstances is and then make a selection. Once the detail is selected, save and add, and then you will see the detail here. In case you want to modify, you can go and do that. You want to delete and re-enter, you can do that. And as I said, if you have to add some more job title, you still have that option here. Once you add here and save and add, that will become the second row. Once this is done, click next. This is the research part where IRCC is asking for some information. I have selected yes to this. So if you want to choose no, you are more than welcome to do that. And here I will look for job in Canada into primary occupation. My response here is yes, and I've done some research. Have you checked to see if your education and work experience in your primary occupation would be accepted in Canada? I said yes. And then from these options, I chose work related and professional organization. So you'll have to select your response here. Then some jobs are regulated in Canada. You would need license or certification to practice these jobs. The job what I am into, it does not require. So I have selected no. If it is yes, then you will have to select these options, what is in your case. So I keep it at no and then save and exit. So now the primary applicant detail has been completed. If you're single, once this is complete, this part won't come. If you are with spouse, then you'll have to fill in the detail for the spouse, personal details, study and language, work history. So let's quickly do this. Once we click here, come down, this is pre-filled. So click next, select the country of birth and town. So once that entry is made, click next. Then whether the spouse is Canadian citizen or permanent resident. In my case, the answer is no. If it is yes, then you select yes. I'm keeping it as no and then next. And does the spouse have a relative who is citizen or permanent resident of Canada? The relative must be 18 years or older and living in Canada. So once you click here, the definition of relative is given here. Okay, read this part, and in our case it is no, save and exit. Once this is done, come down, study and language. So spouse education detail, here I have pre-filled the detail. So for the higher education I have said yes. Field of study, from this drop down I have selected what that is, and then which year that has been mentioned. This is the current year study, no. If it is yes, you have to select that, and then when this was finished, that is mentioned. Once we come down here, how many years of academic year completed, that has been mentioned. Then whether it is full-time or part-time, and what was awarded at the end of this period. Where this study was done, city and town, university name, and then level of education. Again, that is selected from the drop-down. Once we come down here, for this, my response is no, no Canadian degree diploma. Now for the education credentials, I'm saying yes. And then organization, as I said, World Education Service was one of the service provider. There are many others from whom one detail can be got. So once the details are mentioned, when this was got, and the number is entered, and what the education equivalent was given. So once that is added, next for the knowledge of official languages, from this I am selecting English. You'll have to select the option what is there. So here, has any test been taken? My response is yes, and show IELTS. Language test version is general training by default, and when this was taken, that is also mentioned along with the result date, which is straight out of the certificate. So once that detail is entered, then comes the certificate number. When the certificate number is entered and the test result entered, making sure that there is no mistake, exactly as it is given in the certificate. Then for the French language skill, my response is no. If you have, you can select yes. Then once we come down here, save and exit. Now the last section for spouse is the work history section. Start here. In case there is any work experience, you will select yes and then fill in the detail. Here my response is no, and then save and exit. So now you see here, everything shows complete. You still have option to check, cross-check. You can go to form, make sure everything is correct. And once you know that everything is correct, you continue. And you come to this declaration and electronic signature section. So here, once we come down, you see here, please select I agree. And then again, consent for use of information for research and evaluation purpose. I'm selecting I agree. Then come down here, you will have to give a digital signature and then enter the security question which you had created earlier. A lot of people make mistake here writing the name. So you see, first is the given name and the last name, unlike how it started earlier. So make sure you are entering the given name first, last name second, and then you will be asked security question. And once you enter that and you sign in, come down. Now you are ready to transmit. So you click here. Congratulations, you have successfully submitted your application. Here 3 steps are given. You can read at your own time. Exit questionnaire. And then you see here, now you can see Express Entry application is created with the application number, name, when it was submitted, and what is the current status. Message also shows as new, and then you can go to action. You can check your full application status, and if you want to withdraw anytime, you can also do that by going here. Now also one thing you need to remember is that whenever there is a change to your profile, for example, now that I have entered the pool, it is based on my current score is based on the age and other factor. If something changes, and the score again would change accordingly. For example, if I grow 1 more year older, then the point would reduce. So all this impact, you will be able to see that in this profile whenever that happens. And so keep looking at this part. Let's go here, check full application status. This is the Express Entry profile status, and based on what the input was given, everything is here. You can see that the minimum entry criteria, August 27th, is mentioned, and then on the right hand side, candidate information, that is all my detail. And once we come down here, and also the dependent detail, if I come and click here, the dependent detail, what was filled, that will be seen. Let me come down. Here you see minimum entry criteria, August 27th, same thing is written here. What is important is how much point did I get. So here you see what am I eligible for, Canadian experience class, met, and what is not met, that is shown. Now the overall score is 518, and then the score breakdown is given below. This is how you would also get all the detail. Then once we come down here you will be able to see all the detail for the Express Entry profile. If you look at the CRS trend, this is the place where you can find the CRS trend. I'm sure you would be tracking that. And you see here the last drop which happened on August 14 for Canadian experience class, and the lowest CRS score was 509, whereas what I have got now is 518. So anytime the draw happens, I will be getting the invitation to apply. Looking at the trend, you see here 509, 510, 515. So I'm much above the trend line so far. Let's see when the next invitation to apply comes for the Canadian experience class. So friends, this is how the invitation to apply looks like, and you will get to see what all comes in this invitation to apply, and there are some instructions. First is the date when this invitation to apply has been sent. So typically you get 60 days to file your application once you receive your invitation to apply. We will see that. Here you see the Express Entry profile ID is mentioned, name, email ID, and then the person to whom the IT has been sent. Then it will have a clear message about the Express Entry profile submission, and it mentions the class, that is Canadian experience class. What you can see here, Express Entry round of invitation 2. Then the complete score, what was evaluated based on what input you had given, that complete score is mentioned here. Let me come down, and then you get to see the overall point. Now it says your invitation is valid for 60 days from the date of this message. There are two options: decline this invitation or apply online for permanent residency. So this application has to be submitted by completing the application before 27 October 2024. The time is also given. So 60 days is what is given to apply with all the required documents. Let me come down. Change to personal situation. If your situation or that of your spouse or common law partner changes, you should try to recalculate your point score before you decide to apply for permanent residency. To find out how to recalculate your score, this link has been given. CRS Tool, I made a separate video on how this CRS Tool can be used. If your new score is lower than the minimum point score in the round of invitation from which you were invited to, you should consider declining the invitation to apply. You should also consider declining the invitation to apply if you no longer meet the minimum criteria for Express Entry. If you were invited to apply based on the meeting the criteria of specified category, but you no longer meet the criteria for the category, you should consider declining this invitation. And then there is a warning. If you decide to apply in the above cases, your application may be refused and your application fee will not be returned. Some example of changes which could result in lower point score include: you no longer have a valid job offer. So when you submitted, you said you had a valid job offer, but that is no more existing. Then in that case, your score would change. You no longer have a provincial nomination. So in case you earlier had applied saying that you have a provincial nomination and you don't have now, then the score would change. Your language test score have expired, and upon retaking them, the scores are lower. So there is a duration within which the language test validity is applicable. So if you have crossed that, then the score would have come down. Your language test score has to be in good standing. Note, if you had birthday since we sent you this invitation and the change to your age decreases your point total, this will not cause us to refuse your application for permanent residency. So there are two options here. Option 1, decline this invitation. If you decline this invitation, you still meet express entry criteria. Your express entry profile will become active again. If your profile will remain valid until the original expiry, that is the rest of 365 days from the date the original express entry submission. So whenever you submitted first time, from that day, 1 year is the activation period, and again you will have to renew in case that becomes expired, and will be considered for future round of invitation until that time. So if you decline, you will still be considered, provided you are still meeting the express entry, those basic requirement what was there. Note, previous receipt of invitation to apply is no guarantee that you will again invited to apply for permanent residency. So please make an informed decision. To decline this invitation to apply for permanent residence, log into your account and click on decline invitation button. Your express entry profile will become active again. Option 2, apply for permanent residence. If you choose to apply for permanent residence, you will need to do the following. Log into your account, go to section called applications, find the application called permanent residence and click on it. Review and validate the information on the pre-filled form, transfer from your express entry profile, complete the remaining question, obtain the documents which you must submit with your application. See checklist for detail. You should immediately start gathering all supporting document and information you need to include on your application so that you can submit your application within 60 days deadline. Please note that some documents such as foreign police certificate may take some effort and time to acquire, so begin gathering these documents now. Then comes important, please do not request a Canadian criminal record check which includes fingerprints. IRCC will advise you if one is required. This isn't the same as given your biometric for an application. So let's come down. If at the 60-day deadline, any of your supporting document or information is missing, you do not have a valid reason, your application will be rejected. Failure to take action, this invitation will expire if you do not decline the invitation to apply for permanent residence and you do not submit an application for permanent residence within the 60 days time period. If you fail to take action, your invitation to apply will expire and your profile will not be considered for future invitation. If you later decide that you wish to be considered in future round of invitation, you will need to submit a new express entry profile and continue to meet the express entry criteria. Thank you for your interest in Canada. In case you fail to take action and the invitation expires and you want to again come to the express entry profile, then you will have to create a new express entry profile and again you have to meet the criteria there also. And this is one of the difficult thing, that is to decline invitation to apply. After a lot of effort, one gets invitation to apply for Canada PR, and there could be circumstances when you have to decline, and it is better for you if you have to decline and then get into pool again. The reason to decline could be many, including personal or professional circumstances. Maybe after submission of profile, you might have received a better job offer from another country. Your family circumstances have changed. You have decided not to immigrate, or you feel that you have insufficient point or eligibility concern after paying the fee and submitting all the document. If you get rejection, you don't want to get into that situation. Other could be lack of required document. You feel that you don't have enough proof of fund, or some kind of a document you're not able to get in time, or it could take a little more time to get those documents. It could be your financial constraint, paying the fee itself. There could be many reasons because of which you would like to decline the invitation to apply. Once you log into your Express Entry profile, if you have got the invitation to apply, just come down, continue an application you haven't submitted. This is the place where you will find either continue application or decline invitation. So this decline invitation and continue application, you get close to 60 days within which you have to decline the invitation. If you don't decline and you have not completed your application, in that case, your application will become null and void. Again, you'll have to create another Express Entry profile if you want to get into the pool. If you go ahead and decline the invitation now, what will happen is you will get back to the pool again, and anytime the next draw happens and you meet all the criteria, you will get the invitation to apply in that case. You say this option 1, decline this invitation. Here it clearly states if you decline this invitation, you still meet the Express Entry criteria, your Express Entry profile will become active again. Your profile will remain valid until the original expiry date, that is rest of 365 days from the date of your original Express Entry submission, and will be considered for future round of invitation until that time. Note, previous receipt of an invitation to apply is no guarantee that you will be again invited to apply for permanent residence. So please make informed decision. To decline this invitation to apply for permanent residency, log into your account and click on decline invitation button. Your Express Entry profile will become active again. Let me show this. Once you come and click here, decline invitation. If you click continue, decline your invitation to apply for permanent residence in Canada. Please note, there is no guarantee that you will be invited to apply. If you decline, you will still be in Express Entry pool of candidate and are still eligible to be invited to apply again. Your Express Entry profile is normally valid until expiry date indicated on your case status page. So let's continue. You see here, what would you like to do today? Your invitation has successfully been declined. So continue. Now you see you're back to Express Entry profile. So that invitation to apply has changed to application profile update. You can check your full application status. Once you click here, you have declined an invitation to apply. As on date, you meet the minimum entry criteria. So this will still be active. In case you want to withdraw complete Express Entry, on this page, you have this withdraw profile. Here, you get this warning. If you click continue, you will withdraw your profile from Express Entry pool of candidate. You no longer will be eligible to be invited to apply for permanent residence in Canada as a skilled immigrant. Next step, if you have registered for Canada's job bank, you must remove your profile from that website. You must also remove any references that you are candidate for Express Entry from any private job board website. If you used any, you will have to submit a new Express Entry profile if you wish to be candidate in Express Entry pool. Again, continue. Your profile has successfully been withdrawn. Continue. So you see now the status again has changed. So you click here, the status is profile withdrawn. So that's it, guys. When you log into your Express Entry profile, you see that you have got invitation to apply. Congratulations for that. Once you check the invitation to apply, this is how you will get the invitation to apply letter. And when you scroll down, you see continue an application you haven't submitted. This is the place where your permanent residency application is sitting, and it shows when the date it was created and how many days you're left with to complete this application. So right now it shows 61 days as this invitation to apply had come today. So within 60 days, you will have to effectively complete all the document by continuing the application. You also have choice to decline this invitation. In case you have got the invitation to apply, you will be able to see that part even there. Also, what I had done was to create a small checklist on an Excel sheet, what you see right in front. And this really helped me to organize all the document what was necessary. Not just that. So if you go down below, you see I had also made a checklist of letter of explanation. Now this may not be needed for you. So while I was trying to find information on what all mistakes people have done, I could find passport, marriage, and what all can go in explanation, be it work experience like or job loss or company closure or company is not able to provide reference letter. All those things I started to document much in advance, including government, military and police service. So recently I had made one video and I saw some of the individuals who had not even worked in the military service. They got this question because they had some government experience information like, I have never served in military in the letter of explanation might have reduced the timeline. That's what I feel. That now going down, there could be other situation, name discrepancy, address history. I have made this checklist, and also before landing, you see here, one flight to book, luggage, carry-on bag, all those information I had captured. So if this helps you, you can find this on my website, CanadaTriedandTested.com. Once you come here to the organized link page, on this page, I have organized everything, and just by coming down here, Canada calling checklist, once you click here, it will automatically get downloaded without any sign up required. So your own document which you can customize and work with in case it helps you. Coming back to the application, continue application. If you're unmarried, you might not get this question. If you're married, you will get something like this. Do you or your spouse, common law partner, have any children? So here I have selected response as no. Whatever response it is in your case, you will have to do that and then update information. Find out if you are eligible. You come to this page and here read this part. This is on the payment part, which you'll have to pay for application and RPRF. So if you're only paying for application fee, you select this. If you want to do both together, then you select this. In our case, we had selected this, and then next. Now we will come to this permanent resident application page where you have to complete this entire online application, as you can see here. So depending on chosen, you will get the entire detail like this. So in my case, I was accompanying the spouse. So this is entire primary applicant detail and then the spouse detail. Again, one by one, you'll have to keep completing. So organize all your document and then start with this application. Now, one challenge you will come across is when you're uploading document here, as you're filling, there are restrictions when it comes to the size, and sometimes you can only upload one single document in a upload section. Now, if you have multiple documents which you need to upload, all you need to do is arrange that beforehand and keep it ready. For example, all your work experience, your pay stub, your anything related to work will go as one single document. Similarly, education, that will all be in one single document. You might have multiple pages. How you can make that into single document, I'll show you, and just by following this, you will get the right dimension and also the right size. Here in this example, if you see at this document 4, this is more than 5.5 MB. Sometimes you will not be able to upload even 2 MB file. And how to bring this down to a lesser size? All you have to do is, there are two methods. First one is when you're scanning your document, on the scanner, choose 96 dpi, 96 dot per inch. If you select that, it will give you a low resolution image or document. So you can check the size by coming to this section in the detail and you can see what the size is. If you still find this to be on higher side, or you're using, for example, mobile to scan all the documents and you see you don't have those adjustments, all you have to do is right click, open with Paint, and once this image opens in Paint, you see here, click Resize and Skew, and here you can reduce the percentage. Say I'm reducing 30%. Once I do this and OK and save this, after saving, you can see it has become 642 KB. So that's how you can reduce the size. When you have to upload file as single document, that is, for example, work experience, all your work experience related document you make into single PDF, all your education related document you make it into one single PDF. Similarly, letter of explanation can run into, say, multiple pages. How to make that into one single PDF? For that, you come to this website. The link will be there in the description. By using that, you will be able to use this for free. And once you come to create a design, click on resume, and now you see you get a blank template here. Now you will click on upload. Once you click here, you see here upload file. You click and select the folder where all your files are. Once you come to that folder and you find all your files, just select all of them. For example, we select this and open. All your file will come and sit here. For example, we see now these 3 files. To make it into one single PDF, click on the document here. Once you click here, this comes and sits here, you see. and you can adjust the size. Then add page, click on second document, adjust the size. Once this is done, add page, click here, adjust the size. So say you are making 3-page document into single PDF. To do that, click on share and here click on download. Once you have selected, you see file type. Here you have 2 options, PDF standard, PDF print. We will be going for PDF standard. Once we click this, all you need to do is download. So there are 3 pages, all have been selected here. Click download and you see now you have a single PDF document which can be uploaded. So document 1, 2 and 3. And by coming to this section, you can see what is the size of that document. Make sure to relabel, and that will make it convenient when you're uploading. You go to the right document. Once this is done, you can see these are all my documents which I had uploaded for Canada PR. So this is quite old. You can see here a long time ago. So once everything is arranged, we are ready to start filling in all the information what is required. This page, as I will keep completing, you will see this complete tick replacing in progress. So let me fill this and then I will go one by one from start. Also, one more important thing is once you become a PR, when you go for your citizenship, again these information will be asked and numerous time you'll have to fill this information. So make sure you are keeping this safe somewhere, all that you are filling. That way you also have a record of what you have filled. So what I do is I use this tool, which is a Chrome extension called Go Full Page. As you can see, I have this. So all I do is come to the page which has been filled, click here, click on Go Full Page, and now it is copying the entire page and it gives to me in either a PDF form or a PNG form, whichever I want. So once I save this, I have this for future reference on what I have exactly filled. This way, whatever I have filled in all of this comes page by page. So this is one way I have all my record. Now you see, I have completed everything and that's why it shows status as complete. And this is how it will look when you complete everything. So let's go one by one into each one. So once you click here, update form. So here you see these are pre-filled from what you had earlier given during pre-IT. So same thing comes here, and once you come down here, has this person ever used any other name? So you'll have to select your option. If you had any other name, you'll have to select yes. If not, select no and then click next. Again, in the personal description section, gender, date of birth is pre-filled from what you had earlier filled, and this won't change. You can see here, these are law. Coming to country of birth, city of this information, make sure you're not making any mistake. You can look at your passport, your birth certificate, wherever that details are given, as you would be submitting those details in the upload section. Once this entry is made, country of birth drop down, you select whatever it is, and likewise city of birth or town of birth, all these are required field. You see, anything which is written as required is a required field. Now let me come down here. Height has to be given either in centimeter or in feet and inches. So both metric will not be accepted. Once you make an entry, it will show error. You can try it. So I've given here in centimeters. If you don't know what your height is, just go to any nearby clinic where they have the height measurement facility. Get it done and make sure you're entering the correct height here. Eye color, again from this drop down, you choose the eye color. So these are all the options. I have made the selection here. Like once you make this, you click next. So here you see marital status is shown. In case you are single, you might get different. If you're divorcee, you might get different. So according to your situation, you might see this differently. However, it's quite simple. As you can see in the marital status, these are all pre-filled. Before ITA, what was filled, that shows up. And then date of marriage, start of common law relationship. So that date will get entered from this drop down, and you will be submitting the marriage certificate as the proof. So whatever is there in the marriage certificate, make sure that detail is captured correctly. And has you been previously married or in common law relationship, you will have to select the option from this drop down, and once that is made, you click next. So this is the identity document section. Tell us about travel document. If you do not have passport or travel document, tell us about his national identity document. If you are in express entry, I am hoping that you will have your passport. If not, get the passport made, because that will be required for you to apply for express entry. Once you have the details, I have already pre-filled that part and that shows up here. We go up. All you need to do is make a selection. If it is yes, you select yes, and then document ID type. In my case, I have selected passport. So once that is done, the document number as exactly it is shown in the document. If it is passport, enter that passport number, country or territory where it was issued, issue date, expiry date. Just straight out of your passport, transfer that information, and once you do save and add, you will see detail like this, as you can see here. Then, are you lawful permanent resident of United States with valid US citizenship and immigration service number? If you have to select yes. If not, select no, and then click next. This is about previous application to Canada, country of citizenship, and the country where he/she currently lives. Depending on your circumstances, if you are applying from outside Canada, your response is going to be different if you are applying within the Canada. For example, some of you would have come on study visa and then got work permit and now applying PR. In that case, the response will be little different. In case you came on a work permit and now you're applying for permanent residency, then your response is going to be little different. So, have you applied to Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada before? So here in this case, from the drop down, yes has been selected. Have you applied for permanent residency before? Response again has to be selected from here. Then if you have unique client identifier number, then you will have to enter this number. So basically, if you would have come on student visa or work permit, you would have got this UCI. You can check your document, you will find it there. So make that entry. Then country of citizenship. If you are citizen of any one country, you enter that detail. And if you have multiple country, then you can do an insert row and add the other country detail here. We come down. You will choose the country of residence where you are currently staying and the province or territory or state. You make a selection based on that. It will show here, and then the postal code. So that entry has to be made. If it is Canada, the postal code will have to have a space. If you don't give a space, it will not accept. You will any which ways, when you go and do the check for completeness, you will get an error. So once this detail is entered, you click next. This is the family section, and here information about your family is required. So how many family members do you have? This includes you, your spouse or partner, dependent children and their dependent children. If you have any doubt, just click here on this question mark and it will give you more clarification. So here, depending on the family size, you make the entry from this drop down. Once this is selected, how much money will you be bringing to Canada to support yourself and family? So you write down the amount. What is important to note here is this table on family size and what the amount minimum required is. Now, if you are applying under this class, then you need to show the proof of fund, and if you fall under any of these, then you don't need proof of fund. Depending on your circumstances, once you make an entry in the upload section, you will see how those details will be getting uploaded. In my case, for the proof of fund, since at that time I was applying from outside, I had kept the money in saving account and I had not touched that part, whatever the minimum requirement was, and that was in account for more than 6 months when I did my application filing. So in the upload section, I had given the statement as the attachment, and then I also had money in something called as provident fund, which I had shown. So stock, mutual fund, I had not shown that as proof of fund because the values keep fluctuating. I have made a detailed video on that, on how the entire proof of fund was shown. Once this entry is made, next is, do you have a relative who is a citizen or permanent resident of Canada? Relative must be 18 years or older and living in Canada. So you will have to select your response from yes or no. In case you have, it will be yes. If not, no. Then let's come down. This is the immediate family member that have not been identified in the application. This is apart from who have so far been identified in the application. If you have parent, any spouse, common law partner, any children including adult children, any brother and or sister, if relative is deceased, provide date of death. You will start filling in this detail one by one. This is the drop down section. You see here, brother, common law partner, daughter, father. So it's a long list. So you will keep selecting one by one. Enter the first name. Don't make any mistake here, because whatever you enter here is going to follow you when you go for your citizenship, when you have to apply for anyone's visitor visa. So all those things you have to keep in mind. Or once you make an entry of last name, first name, make sure everything is correct and as per the record. Then gender, date of birth. Let me come down. In case the person is deceased, then you will select date of death, and then country of residence, city and town. Once you have made an entry and you save, you will see the family detail like this added one by one. You can go and modify in case you want. If you find anything wrong, you can update that, or you can also delete the row. So make sure you're entering the family member detail. Spouse section is separate where spouse with their family detail. It's important that you cover all family members possible. And once that is done, have you told us about all relatives? You will choose your answer from here. Once that is done, save and exit. Next is contact detail. So as I said, once you complete everything, you can click here to check fitness, and that will show you if everything is complete or not. Language of correspondence, you have two options. So select the option you have, then click next. Then you select the telephone detail. So telephone type from this drop down, you can select the one what is in your case, and then you will select the country and territory. If it is Canada, US, you select this. If it is any other country, you select this. And then once you enter your telephone detail, that will show up like this once you save and add. Now, if you have fax number, you can provide it here. Fax number, select your option and then click next. So you will enter your email address. That will be the mode of communication. You can read this here. And once that is done, you click next. Mailing address, you will enter. If you have PO box number, you will enter. Then your apartment unit number, street number, address, street address, if applicable, and city and town. So whatever is shown as required is mandatory field. Remaining, depending on how your address is written, you can enter detail. We come down, then you choose your city and town, country, province, state, postal code. This detail is entered. Here you see the postal code. I have not given any space, but it is still accepting. So if that be the case, it's all good. Don't have to worry as long as details are matching. Click next. This is the address history section. Again, very important, because whatever you enter here, make sure keep that record, because when you're applying for your citizenship, again the same detail will be asked, and it becomes important that you know what exactly you have entered. So in this address section, you have to give in this addresses where you have lived in past 10 years or since 18th birthday, whichever is most recent. So depending on your age, you can make that calculation, and you make sure you're not leaving any gap. That is when it comes to month and year. So you will start entering your detail. Is this your current address? You will select the option. If it is your current address, yes. And then since what year you have been staying here, that you will select month and day. So that's why I said, remember what you're entering and keep a record of this. And if you have an address which is ending on say 15th of a month, then the next address, make sure there is no gap. And if there is a gap, it will show error. So once you have made the entry of address, street number, address name, let me come down. Whatever is shown as required, these are mandatory field, city, country, district, and you do save and add. So each of the addresses will be filled one by one. And once you do save and add, it will come and sit in table form like this. And just check, recheck, cross check, make sure there are no gaps. And once you satisfy, save and exit. You also have option to modify, delete, and if you want to add, I have shown you, you just go and enter and then save and add. Once this is done, save and exit. Now we come to the study and language. Once we click here, update form, native language. So you will select the native language from this list. And once the selection is made, come down, click next. Here, we are here on the education history section. And this is the assessment which will be done for the score, secondary and post-secondary period of study for eligibility of express entry. And this is what will be used for calculation. So make no mistake, I have already pre-filled, and that's why this education history section is shown here. Bring back, make sure you're not making any mistake. So from this, you will select if you have completed high school or any higher education, including university, college, vocational training. So once that selection is made, you will select the field of study from this drop down. And once you've made that, since what year, you have to make that selection of the year and month. Once this is made, was this a current study period? If it is yes, you make that selection. If it is no, you make that selection, and then we come down. Here you tell when this course ended. Once the course ending detail is mentioned, how many academic year it took to complete, you make that entry here. So if you have any doubt, you click here. These are all required field. Once you click here, you must enter the number of full academic year you completed, supported by final transcript. If you are outside of Canada, you might be asked for the transcript detail. So keep filling this full-time, part-time study. So select the option, and standing at the end, anything you got like certificate, diploma, degree, you make that selection. Then you select the country of study. So for example, I'm selecting India. Then you enter city, town, name of the institution and level of education. Once this entry is made, and when you select if you are awarded Canadian degree, diploma, certificate for this period of study, based on your response, when I'm selecting no here, you see, have you been given any education credential assessment in the past 5 years for this degree, diploma, certificate? You have to make that selection. You would need education credential assessment if you are applying from outside of Canada. So once you make that selection, the organization from where you got that you will select, then you will enter when that ECA was issued, the date and time, and you will enter the ECA number. For example, this is the ECA number, and then what was the equivalency that certificate was, what was given by this educational credential agency. So you will make that selection, and once you make that selection, you will go and save and add. So whatever education detail you keep capturing, that will show up like this in the table. So check, recheck, cross check, and once this is done, come down and click next. For the official language, from this drop down, you will either choose English. If you have both English and French, or French, whatever it is, you will make that selection. So once the selection is made, you will give details about what the assessment was. So was this an approved language test to assess the English skill? I've selected yes. And language test taken. So these are the option for English. So I have selected IELTS. Let me come down. Language test version, IELTS general, then language test date, date of result, and the certificate number. Then what was the score that was got? And have you taken approved language test to assess language skill, that is French language skill? I have chosen response as no. And once this is entered, in case you have French also, once you make a selection yes, you'll have to fill up those details. So once this is done, come down and save and exit. We come to the application detail section. Click here, province and territory of interest. Here from the drop down, I've selected Ontario. You make a selection, whichever province interests you. Once that is made, in which city, town does you intend to reside? Again, from the drop down, make a selection, click next. Have you received nomination certificate from province or territory? If it is yes, once you click here, you will be asked some more questions like which province. Otherwise, if you don't have, select no, save and exit. Coming to the representative section, click here. So here basically you can appoint a person to do business with Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada on your behalf. This will allow them to have your information to any appointed person such as an immigration consultant, lawyer, friend, family member who can contact the IRCC on your behalf. If you have anyone, then you make a selection based on what your case is, whether it is representative, designated individual, or you have both representative and designated individual or no. So in my case, I've selected no and save and exit. Work history, again, very important. Click update form. In this occupation section, you select the primary occupation, that is your 5-digit NOC, based on which your determination for eligibility or score will be done. So this gets filled. You can choose from the drop down, whatever it is in your case. Then you enter date first became qualified to practice in this occupation. So you enter the date and month. Once that is done, click next. Do you have certificate of qualification from a Canadian province or territory? Then you have to make selection accordingly. Once this is done, you click next. For the intended work in Canada, do you have any job offer? You make the selection between yes and no, and then you click next. On the work history, you will have to enter all your current and previous job. This includes all the job what you have done. Only thing what you don't enter is any apprenticeship process. Remaining any job you have done, that will have to be listed. So basically, do you have any work history? Here my response is yes. Then you enter what year and month. If this is your current job, you make the selection. Then if that work ended, when did it end? You make that entry here. Then you enter how many hours per week. This is again everything what is shown as required. Everything what is shown as required, you have to mandatorily enter. So hour per week, that gets entered. 5-digit NOC code. So you make the selection from this list. Then your job title as it is given in your offer letter, because offer letter and all those documents you would be sending as attachment, or you would be sending a document which you get from company where all these details will be mentioned. So once you enter your job title, employer name, if it was self-employed work, you tick this. Then you select the country, territory, city and town. Once you make a selection and you save add, so for each job you will keep adding and make sure there are no gaps. When you're filling, add every job you have done in this list. So once you have done that, you will be able to see the work history like this. So if you have worked in more than one job, you will see that detail here in this table. Once this is done, click next. This is the research section, and you see here, this is just a series of questions. IRCC will not use this information for research, performance measurement or evaluation purpose. Just to understand where you stand in terms of your research, and do you agree to answer these questions? You'll have to choose your answer. If you say no, then you will not get asked this question. If you say yes, then have you looked for job in Canada in your primary occupation? What best describe the last action you took? So these are the options. You make your selection. Have you checked to see if your education and work experience in your primary occupation would be accepted in Canada? So you have to select your option. Then let's come down. Have you checked to see if your education and work experience in your primary occupation would be accepted? Make a selection. Then with whom did you check? Mark all that applies. So from this, you will select whatever option it is. Some jobs are regulated in Canada. You would need a license or certification to practice these jobs. Do you know if your primary occupation or trade is regulated? So you will have to select your answer again here. And once you make the selection, then come down and save and exit. Now we are here on the personal history part. Click here. Here on the personal activity, your personal history in the last 10 years or since your 18th birthday, if this was less than 10 years old. Depending on what your age is and what it is, you will select this. So in my case, I am showing last 10 years, and it has to start with the most recent information under activity type, what I was doing, and what has to be ensured that you don't leave any gap in time. For example, you were unemployed for a period of time. You still have to show that in this table what you will be creating one by one. Anything you have done, you show that. If you are unemployed, you can write it down and you can show that duration. And in the letter of explanation, you can add what that was, as you will not be able to show everything here. Please ensure that you do not leave any gap in time. You can tell us about each period by filling in the fields below. Check the list at bottom of the form first to see information you have already saved. When you click save and add, each period will save to the list. The field will go blank to let you add another period. So as you keep filling and adding, the field what you will see below will become blank for you to fill the next one. Then you can modify, delete if you want, which you have already saved. Provide complete detail of military or paramilitary service for any country in whose armed forces you have served at any time. List any government position such as civil servant, police officer, employee in security organization which you have held at any point, any time. Include positions you have held before and after retirement. Make sure if you fall under this category, this is covered. A lot of people, they ignore this part or they don't look at this part and then they keep getting questioned. List any organization you have supported or have been member of or been associated with at any time. Include any political, social, youth and student organization, trade union and professional associations. Do not use abbreviation. So make sure you're following this and start filling the detail. So here from the activity type, you have this list. You'll select the activity. In case you are employed, employment. In case you are in military, you'll select military. If you are unemployed, make sure you're selecting that option. And once that is selected, then you enter the year and month since when this was. If it is ongoing, you will select this part. If not, you don't select this and enter from to when did it end. Then describe the nature of the job, title, position as much as possible. This does not have much space, so anything beyond this, the words are not getting accepted. So whatever you can fill within this space, make sure the job title, position, everything, and if it is related to the knock against which you have applied, make sure that detail reflects here. Once this is done, provide the name of company, employer, school, facility as appropriate. So enter that part. And once that is done, select the country where it was, come down, city, town, where the activity took place. So as you keep entering and adding, you will be able to see the table like this. Again, as I said, no gap. Everything has to be covered. In case there is any unemployment, even you show that part. And once that is done, do a check, recheck, cross check. After you have checked everything, come to this part. Have you listed all period of military service or government position, if any, and all of the government that you belong to? So you'll have to select this option, yes or no, and then click next. One thing I forgot to tell you, I have made a separate video on military service, police service, how those forms get filled. So in case you have any of this, you might find that video useful. So the link you can find in the description or on my YouTube channel. So coming to the travel history, again, you'll have to give all trips which you had taken outside your country of residence in the last 10 years or since your 18th birthday if this was less than 10 years ago. And you will have to include all trip, be tourism, business, training, etc. So you can look at your passport. Your passport will have all the visa stamping, in, out, all those things. Looking at that, you can start filling in detail in case you have trip. Otherwise, you select no as the option. If you have, you select yes. And once you start to make entry from to, if it is ongoing, you come down, country of visit, city, town, purpose of travel, and then you keep adding. That travel history table will start to come here. So once that part is done, click next. This is a statutory question. Go through each of this question and make sure you're answering to best of your ability, either yes or no. So all my responses you see here are no. And once this is done, you go and save and exit. So far we saw how the primary applicant details have been filled and status shows complete. So check, recheck, cross check, make sure all the entries what you have made is correct. Go slow. Once everything is done and you are sure that everything has been filled and you see the status as complete, then similarly for the spouse, except the application detail and representative, rest of the form is same. Once we come down here, you see personal detail, contact, study and language, work history, personal history. So spouse detail again will have to be filled. And once that is complete, you will see the status as complete. If you are single, you will not get this section. Once this is done, you can continue. This is the document checklist section where you will start uploading all your document one by one. So this is passport upload section, marriage certificate or license, upfront medical exam. Post October 1st, 2023, you no longer need to do upfront medical exam when you are filling your express entry profile. And if you have never done this IME, just upload blank document in the upload field of express entry profile builder and then wait for the instruction for the medical exam. Then you can read this part. Right now, you don't have to do your medical. And also, if you have already completed the IME before, that is when you came for work or study, and you're currently living in Canada, you may not even require to complete another one. Basically, the panel physician who completed your exam, they would have given you this information printout sheet, IMM 1017B upfront medical report form. So you could provide copy of these documents or your IME number. This is the unique medical identifier number from your previous medical exam when you apply online. You can just upload that part if you came on work or study permit. Then in case IRCC is not able to use the old result, they will send you the instruction on how to get medical exam done after you submit your app. I'll show you where you can find details of medical exam, but at the moment you need not worry about this. This is the page where you can go and find the panel physician. For example, I'm selecting India. Once I do the selection based on the country, you will this list of places depending on city where you live. The address will be given. You'll have to get the appointment done with them and get the medical test done. So they also directly send the details to IRCC, but you will get a copy. Education, again, all the educational detail, your degree certificates, your education credential assessment if you have, your mark sheet, your language proficiency transcript, all those things, make it into one single PDF. And I have shown you video how you can get it done into one single PDF easily. Same goes for the police certificate. You see here, it shows India because the history showed stay in India. So for the police certificate, if you are say in India, it's quite easy. You just walk into the Passport Seva Kendra, you pay a prescribed fee and that will be done and given to you. If you are here in Canada, then you have to go through an agency called BLS who acts as a liaison between you and the government of India, and they will get the police certificate done. If you are from any other country, you'll have to figure out how to get that. So these are all time consuming activity. That's why you'll have to plan this much in advance and plan it well. So as soon as you get your ITA, you start getting these things organized. Employment record, all the employment record again into single PDF for the upload. You have to make it ready. In this, you can add your pay stub, your job responsibilities, anything which highlights the title, which helps giving all the detail to show that it aligns with the NOC against which you are applying. Best is to reach out to company HR and ask them to give in a format what IRCC wants. I made a separate video. Some of the HR practices are to give a standard template, and if they know it is for immigration purpose, they may not even give. So I made a separate video on how you can reach out to your HR informing that you are appearing for an exam, and based on those details they will surely give you what is required, and that way they are giving you what you actually are doing. Then proof of financial support. In my case, I had got bank statement. I had in India we have something called as provident fund. So those documents were consolidated and that was uploaded here. Then the digital photo as per the requirement. Once you click here, you will get the size and the dimension what is required. So make sure when you are getting all these things done, you get as per the requirement. So all the uploads have a restriction. For example, photo has 4 MB, and this optional document here you can upload letter of explanation. Keep the letter of explanation in simple English, straightforward, and give as much as detail as possible to IRCC, which might help them to understand your situation better. So it could be one single letter of explanation having multiple situations being addressed. For example, you find out that your passport has expired and renewal is going to take place and you have applied for renewal. You're not able to upload the latest one. You could make that explanation in that letter of explanation and can give them additional information on what you have done. Similarly, for marriage, if there is anything specific to be told, or if you're not able to get a letter from a particular company about your employment record, what all you have done or gathered as an information, to give that additional information to IRCC. There is a detailed video on letter of explanation. Again, the link will be there in the description. Similarly, detail will be filled for spouse. In case you have selected spouse, then you would get this where you can go and upload document for the spouse. And in case you want the letter of explanation to be given for spouse, this can go in spouse section. Once this is done, so you see here, now that documents are uploaded, I have named as per the document. That makes it easy to identify. So labeling is important. That helps you not to make any mistake. So once everything is uploaded and you see here, that means it has got uploaded correctly without any issue of size during the upload. Once everything is uploaded, you see, including the letter of explanation, you can come down here. Everything is uploaded. Then you get the fee. This fee you get to see, which is estimate. So once this is done, you click next. This is the declaration and electronic signature page where you come and look at the checklist. So it shows uploaded, not submitted. Once we come down here, uploaded, not submitted. And then you get to see the summary of fee, what you will pay. And then there is a privacy notice, declaration, disclosure, and here you do I agree. Then the primary applicant gives the signature. So here given name comes first, last name comes second, and then you enter the security question which you had created initially at the time of creating express entry. So once this is done, you sign and all your documents will get transferred, and then you will get the payment page where you have to go and do the payment for start of process. Once this is done, your job is done. Sit back and relax. IRCC will start with the process. In case they have any question, come back and ask only if they have question. Otherwise, the process will continue, and then you will keep getting update on what the process is. Meanwhile, start to research for Canada, how you can find job, how you can settle, and all those aspects. And congratulations again. Thanks for watching.